Okay, so this is the beginning of the great adventure, I guess, to fly a tour of the UK. So today we're going to be flying down towards Land's End. So we're beginning at Booker, flying south to the coast, and then following the coast, basically. So if anybody ever wants to find out their way around the UK, this is going to be the series of videos that are going to do it. So obviously I won't do it all in one go, but I'll see how far I can get each day. What we might do is wind time back to make the session, otherwise I'm going to run out of daylight. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon real time while I'm doing this. I probably need to wind this back into the morning, so I'll take it back to 9 o'clock in the morning for a 9 o'clock kickoff to give us more daylight hours basically in the aeroplane. Let's just check the volume levels. Yeah, we're looking good on the volume. I'm going to turn the sim down a little bit though, because it will be loud once the engine gets up and running. Let's go and check as well, make sure that Windows hasn't done its usual trick now. It's left the simulator volume alone. Okay, so we're in the JustFlight P28 or Piper Arrow 3. So we're going to go and remove the chocks and the tie downs. We'll leave the auto fuel selector on. We'll leave the yokes on. We can then get rid of that tablet out of the way. And let's get the airplane up and running. So we've got the battery over here. I'm just going to go and check my devices that I'm using. I want this to come through the headphones so I don't annoy everybody else in the house while I'm doing this. Okay, so battery's on. The beacon light should come on, so let's go and have a look outside. Is it working? Yes, it is. Brilliant. Fuel is in the off position. We'll go to the left tank, although remember we've set it to auto. We'll also go and stop that undercarriage warning light from flashing. I'm sure I can, or I hope I can remember. So I'm just switching on the nav lights as well. Interesting. Okay, let's run the fuel pump for a few moments. Oh, of course it helps if you have some fuel. You can tell I haven't flown this for a while, can't you? Right. Anti-collision lights on. So I don't think we'll be using much in the way of the autopilot, but we'll see. Calibrate the altimeter. So we'll be taking off runway 24, so we can go and move the heading bug around and the course to 24 for the moment. We'll adjust them in a moment. Hey, I forgot this aircraft has the acceleration. Can you see that happen all of a sudden? Suddenly goes bananas on the navigation. Okay, so we put the head tracking on. Okay. So it would be quite nice if the instruments were a bit lighter, wouldn't it? So we'll turn that up to brighter. It's a bit of a dull day. We'll also go and brighten up the GPS display and turn on the distance measuring equipment. It's a bit of a retro aeroplane. Okay, let's see how we go, shall we? Just going to check things around. So alternator needs to go on, obviously, to generate electricity. Let's go and I don't know how realistic this aeroplane is in terms of the engine gauges. Let's have a look. I'm just taking the RPM up to 1500 for a while just to watch those needles. So yeah, I'm just wondering if the oil temperature will come up on its own. or what will encourage it to come up. It is slowly moving. It's just coming off the bottom of the gauge as we watch it. Oh, I should have checked before we get going. I'm on the West Europe server, so if anybody does want to join in and fly along, they're welcome to do so. Should have put that in the notes of the video, really. Okay, parking brake off. And we roll out towards runway 24. I'm just going to bring this to a halt while we're waiting for the GPS. Yeah, the really basic GPS in this doesn't really do very much. Yeah, I think you have to program things on the world map screen to have the legs appear in it. There's no way of programming it directly in it. Okay. So we need to go and get the pitot heat on, we need to go and put the landing lights on, and otherwise I think we're ready to go. You can see the heading bug and the course are aligned. So indicated airspeed is increasing. Start feeding in some elevator and we're off the ground. Gear up. Turn 230 away from the airfield. Okay, I'm going to use a bit of a trick here. So autopilot's on, so apologies for the interruptions there. And we should be heading out towards the south coast. Let's go and have a look on the map in a moment. So we're just flying away runway direction away from Wickham at the moment. Obviously we're going to turn south, so we're going to go for the Goodwood VOR 11475. And you can see that's being shown here. So this will tell us what direction to fly. Just zoom in on it so you can see it. Going the wrong way on the needle. So I've had all sorts of interruptions within 30 seconds of starting this, which has been fairly typical. Okay, what's going on? I'm going to move the heading back round. That's better. And we've got amazing views outside, as you can see. Okay, let's take this up a little bit higher, shall we? So if we just trim gently for a few hundred feet a minute climb rate, we're doing about 120 knots. Just want to get above this cloud. I don't have to pick the weather, don't I? Unbelievable. So what I might have to do at this rate is change the weather, because the whole point of this was to show you the coast, but I mean look, this is ridiculous. I mean usually I like live weather, but I've never seen this bad. Okay, we'll come back down to 3,000 feet for most of the route, or 2.5 even, would be even better. I'm just descending. So we're just passing over the top of Reading, which you can see here. It's a huge built-up part over there where the railway station and all of the shops are. And the rest of it is just sprawl. Okay, just dropping down to 3,000 feet. How are we in terms of the cloud level? Actually, that's okay, isn't it? So trimming out for 3,000 feet. Let's see what the engine's doing. So manifold pressure. We're not limited by manifold pressure. I'm going to run the engine at 2,500 and pull the RPM's probably okay actually. Let's push it out to 25. Get a bit of a move on. It's worth pointing out we could have DME on here, couldn't we? So at the moment 11475. So this is using, see, we could tune this in ourselves. So it's saying 32 miles to run. Let's just check that against the map, make sure that is doing what it says it's doing. Yeah. So we're flying directly into the Goodwood VOR, and then we'll fly over to Bembridge on the Isle of Wight, then back over to Lyon-Solent, and then following along the coast basically towards the southwest. It should be fairly straightforward today. Just getting comfortable. Oh. There we go. The sun, the clouds. Just about got the clouds working okay. Without complete and utter cloud cover, which is what's really going on today. To be honest, I had forgotten just how good the JustFlight Pipers were. They're very, very good. Right. While we're en route to Goodwood, I'm just going to step away for a moment. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I'm back. Let's turn the head tracking back on. So we're heading down towards Goodwood, which is now 24 miles away according to the distance measuring equipment. Checking that the airplane's running okay. So manifold pressure looks good, RPM looks good. While we're flying along, Oh, hello, Sim's frozen. Give it a moment. Does anybody watching know what this lever does? Because it is not labelled anywhere. I guess we could go through the documentation, couldn't we? So let's go and have a look. If we pull open the file browser and go to the community folder and the Piper Arrow bundle documents, we want the Arrow 3. So let's have a dig around and see what it says about the document, or about the cockpit. Here we go. And now Acrobat's not working. It's the friction control, okay. Yeah, everything else is pretty much straightforward. It's a while since I've flown this, so familiarising myself again with how it works is a bit of a struggle. Okay, let's have a look at the live stream comments. I'll turn head tracking off while I'm looking. So, Hunagal says, greetings from Transylvania. Thanks so much for your awesome videos. How did you get into simming? From Sir Bugs Ban. How long have you been doing it? Oh my word. I had Flight Simulator 2 on the Atari ST. Put this outside so we get a nice view of the aeroplane. I had Flight Simulator 2 on the Atari ST back in 1980. What would it be, 87 maybe? And played with that a lot. Obviously then there were lots of other simulators around at the time, like F-16 Combat Pilot and Fighter Bomber and Tornado and things like that. But then, yeah, so Windows, obviously PCs came along on Windows, so I've basically had all the versions of Flight Simulator over the years. But I wasn't always that interested in it. It was just, you know, it was good fun, but I didn't really get into it too much. And then, let me just check the volume, make sure I'm not completely blasting everybody's ear holes out. Then in about, what would it have been, 2000 maybe, 2001, I got a copy of X-Plane, because I had an old computer. I didn't have a computer capable of running Flight Simulator for many years. And then my dad upgraded his computer and he gave me his old one. And I immediately installed X-Plane on it, which was the, you know, the simulator of choice back in the day. And so I ran X-Plane 11 for a long time. But then I started taking part in group flights with a group called My Air that my dad was a member of. And they tended to use Prepare 3D at the time, so I bought a copy of Prepare 3D and downloaded a couple of airplanes for it, some freebie ones. And following from that, I started taking part in group flights, doing, you know, where they were doing air traffic control and things like that. I'm just trying to think what else. Obviously DCS came along as well, so I've installed DCS the last couple of years, had to play with it. I'm not a huge fan of the military simulators though, although I can appreciate DCS is amazing, you know, in terms of systems and flight model simulation. I actually prefer just flying around for fun rather than shooting and killing people, which is a bit, I don't know, doesn't sit very well with me. But yeah, so the last couple of years, obviously Flight Simulator, Flight Sim 2020 came out, and I continued on with it, and I had started to share videos shortly before 2020 came out. And I think the first proper video I did was a startup guide for people for the, it was for a friend actually, of using the Zebo Mod 737 in X-Plane. and the viewing, or the numbers on it, went up and up and up, and obviously it became quite a popular video. And I didn't think much more of it, and I was sharing videos, bits and pieces of what I was doing with group flights. And then one day YouTube emailed me and said I had reached the threshold to monetize the channel. And to begin with, I thought, oh, that's fantastic, so I'll make a little bit of pocket money and have to buy the odd aeroplane now and again. And very quickly it progressed, and I'm not going to get into the numbers today, but it has become a significant second source of income, a very useful one at times. But obviously it does take hundreds of hours of effort to create the content, but I don't see it as too much of a hardship, because I'm actually interested in the source material anyway. So yeah, you know, the whole subject of aviation I find fascinating, and I love that I actually work as a software developer, so all of this, you know, understanding systems falls right into my kind of wheelhouse of what I'm interested in. Okay, so we're nearly out to the coast. See, we're just approaching the VOR, so we'll be turning very shortly. So let's get this flying straight towards the VOR, so we know exactly where we are. So yeah, along the way I then started a website called Virtual Flight Online, which started out just as a Discord server, and we arranged group flights because I thought it was quite boring flying along on my own. So I thought, wouldn't it be good if there was a whole gang of us that could meet up online and go fly? And this was around the same time that Discord was becoming popular, because previously to Discord I had used an online solution called TeamSpeak. And before TeamSpeak, at the same time as TeamSpeak, there was a multiplayer solution called JoinFS. But of course Flight Simulator arrived and it had its own multiplayer, so we dropped JoinFS pretty quickly. And Discord became really popular, so TeamSpeak went by the way as well. Just reading the comments there. Geo Aviation, can you make a video on how to start up the Sky Simulations MD-11? That's a really good question. I've been talking to them about whether I can buy it, because you can't buy it at the moment. And I asked them if I could have a copy of it just to get, you know, procedures written up and to get used to how it works, ready for the main release of it, which is coming up this year. And they won't let me have a copy of it yet. They won't let me buy a copy of it yet, because obviously it's in the middle of being developed. So I can understand their point of view. Okay, so we're just approaching the Goodwood VOR, and we're going to turn to 231 degrees and fly out on the 231 degree radial to Bembridge. So what we'll do is set this for 231, which is about there, and we'll start cutting the corner off, but we won't go the whole direction yet, so we'll intercept the radial. So there's 231 about there. So we're being pushed, aren't we, by the wind a little bit. There's not too much wind, there's only a few knots, but enough to make a difference. So you can see we're just cutting this corner off. I guess we could have done a touch and go at Goodwood, couldn't we? Should we go and do that? So let's go and disengage the autopilot. and turn in. Let's go and have a look at Goodwood before we land. So given I've got almost no wind because of the turning the live weather off, we can come in and just do a left pattern in, can't we? So what do I use for control of the simulator? I use a Thrustmaster Airbus stick and quadrant. Whoa, what is wrong with that? Look at that. Let me get it back into the air. I don't trust this thing. I never had that before. Okay, I can see people saying on the live stream I'm not replying to comments. It's because I'm concentrating on what I'm doing. Also, there's stuff going on here that you can't see on the screen with family outside of the computer, so I'm having to deal with that as well. Okay, so let's get this back climbing out. We can go and put the autopilot on. and it should follow the heading at the moment, which is good. It should continue climbing, which it's doing, but anywhere between 500-700 feet a minute is great. Just winding out the flaps. So there are some hidden click spots in this aeroplane. If you click here, it does vertical speed hold, and if you click over here, it does altitude hold. So if we're happy with our climb rate, let's just nudge this down a little bit, say 700 feet a minute, and I click over here, it should hold it, and it's doing it, look, or it's trying to. So there's some hidden functionality inside the aeroplane. So we're just flying a slight angle until we're back on the direction. So we did quite a neat trick there. We did our approach, touch and go, and pull out with quite a neat circuit, which is not planned, but nice to see. So anybody that's wondering about the head movement inside the cockpit, I'm using the Tobii Eye Tracker. Okay, you can see the CDI is now sweeping in, so we're almost back onto our the radio we wanted. We could actually switch this, couldn't we, to go to nav mode. So it should straighten up on its own, and it's doing it, look, it's rolling over. So we'll put the heading bug same direction as the radial, away from Goodwood, and we're on our way over to Bembridge now. Obviously this is going to take us directly over Bembridge, but we'll do the same trick. We'll overfly and then arrange a touch and go. So you can see some boats. I've got the Seafront Simulation add-on installed. I've also got the Orbex UK add-ons installed to put items of interest here and there. What altitude are we up to? Oh, we've gone past 3,000 feet again. Let's go and tell it to level out. We could actually descend a little bit, couldn't we? That's interesting. So if I go and press what would have been the key combination for vertical speed mode on the autopilot, that's done something unexpected. That's actually turned the Has it turned the fuel off? No. Interesting. That was odd. So the key that I used to use to engage vertical speed mode actually killed the engine on this one. How strange. The temperatures all look good. it's not carb freezing. It was probably a key combination that did something unexpected. Like, although that's why I was looking down to see if the magnetos had been switched off, because we suddenly had no engine at all. Anyway, just seeing what's in the port over at Southampton. Right, let's do what we were planning to do now and actually descend a little bit. Okay, so you can see Bembridge is out here right on the edge of the coast. So if we can dip down below the cloud layer here, we should be able to see it quite easily. We're still coming down 2,500 feet, we should be good. Container ship out there in the mist. Fishing boat down here. Okay, so you can see Bembridge now. So we get the speed under control, ready to do a touch and go at Bembridge. And hopefully this time it won't glitch with the rudder and nose wheel steering. That was terrible last time. Have a look at the wheels coming out. Looking at the speed, whether we're going to get the speed off in time. If I go nose high towards the outside, then I can drop the flaps, and then I'll continue to side slip it to maintain a decent airspeed, but we'll straighten it back up now. Go high RPM, low power. It's a bit of a Spitfire approach, I'm afraid, but it'll be okay. Through the gap in the trees. Okay, this time get to watch the whole animation. much better. So that looks like the HMS Elizabeth aircraft carrier out here in the bay. Should we go and have a little look at it? There's a container ship moving past it, but yeah, out there in the bay is flanked by some destroyers, is a aircraft carrier. The level of detail is amazing, isn't it? The sim never ceases to amaze me. So the only thing I can see wrong here is obviously the ships aren't moving, but they've still got wakes. You'd think they'd have been clever enough to have said, okay, if we're doing a static ship, we won't put a wake on it. Because it just looks nuts now, doesn't it? There's a submarine here as well, look. There's a lot of F-35s on the deck, aren't there? I'm sure I'd have been shot down in the real world for overflying the aircraft carrier, but there you go. There's one of the old illustrious class carriers. I've just got the seafront simulations add-on installed in answer to the question in the stream. Okay, so we're going to carry on our way straight towards Bournemouth, so we want to be flying 265 degrees. So let's get that on the heading bug, if I can do that. Heading mode is on. Vertical speed's a bit high at the moment. Let's ask it to do 500 feet a minute for us. How are we doing on fuel? Let me just take the yokes out of the way. Oh, it's over here, isn't it? So oil pressure, fuel, left and right. Of course, it's measuring it itself between the two tanks, isn't it? Although that one looks lower, which would imply using the right tank, and this is using the right tank. So should we go left to make it use the left tank for a little bit? Just coming up to 1,000 feet. And flying towards Bournemouth. Then Exeter. Then down to Culdrose. I don't know if we'll land at Culdrose, probably just overfly it. Then on to Land's End. So today I think we'll just go as far as Land's End. And then another day over the coming days we'll fly up to Gloucester and then over to Ireland and make our way around the coast of Ireland. Okay, coming up to 1,500 feet, which is probably enough to be honest. So we'll level out at 1,500 feet. And we have company. Very cool. Yeah, this is the sort of thing the moorings look in certain parts of the country are what Seafront Simulations add-ons can do. You can see there's a whole load of boats in a marina over there, look. And that's the sort of thing that Seafront does. So I can't remember if I switched back on the what have I got running? We've got Seafront in here, we've got the Orbex regional stuff in here. I haven't got the Mamu stuff by the look of it. So I haven't got the power lines or anything like that on. But I have got like lighthouses and things like that. So Alpha Indigo is the person behind me over there. I haven't got accurate aeroplanes switched on in the multiplayer at the moment to hopefully save frame rate when they do appear, or to save stuttering. So yeah, you can get a good idea look at Seafront doing that there. So you can see all of the boats in the marina are actually there with all the masts. Should we have a bit of fun? Let's go over there. Let's straighten our view up. Yeah, look at the number of boats. Okay, back towards the direction we were going, so we can see we're just getting this sorted out. So we can put the autopilot back on. It's on heading mode. But the autopilot on this aircraft doesn't do altitude control, so either you have to use trim or the hidden click spot that does levelling for you. Oh, we've got another airplane coming in. Let's bring the airplane up to 1500 feet. So I'm just looking at the vertical speed here. Bring it under control using trim. And just climbing up to 1500, and then we'll hit the click spot to do altitude hold. It's kind of hidden inside the cockpit. How are we doing? There we go. Now we can enjoy the view from outside. The golf course. So whereabouts are we? We're just coming over Milford-on-Sea, Highcliffe, towards Bournemouth. So there's Bournemouth Airport, which is over here, I guess. I'm inclined to carry straight on down the coast, you know. So what do we have in the way of radio navigation kit that we can use? There's the Berry Head VOR, but we could just use the... Oh, actually no, we can't program the GPS in this, can we? Should we swap the radio kit out for something a bit more useful? I think you can in this aeroplane. Okay, so we have a GNS 530 now, which is a lot more useful to us. So we can do a direct to Exeter EGTE. Actually, if we're going to come in on the approach, it would be better to go to Nexam. So let's go and do that. Oh, let's get the aeroplane back under control to begin with. Okay, and then in here, now is there a switch somewhere to tell? Oh, there's a CDI button, isn't there? GPS, there we go. But will it work is the question. Probably not. No, we're just going to have to use heading and use that as a reference. So put it on heading mode. It's completely ignoring it, look. Ah, maybe that would have worked. We had the heading had switched off. So let's try it. Let's see what happens. Will it put itself on an intercept course for the GPS track? So you'd expect it to start levelling out sometime soon. If it's going to go for about 40 degrees. Yeah, there it goes, look. So it's going to work. So I completely missed that the heading mode had switched off. In other words, that's, you know, the autopilot is not controlling the heading. Interesting. So obviously coming into Exeter from this direction we can use ILS as well, just for a bit of fun. So 109.9257 degrees. Yeah, look, it's straightening up now onto the track. Brilliant. 109.9. And the course when we get there will be 257 degrees. Obviously we can do this independently. The navigation system's taking no notice of it. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 5, 7 is going to be about there. So when we do pick it up later and we switch this back over to VOR, we'll have it preset for the approach, which will be good. Obviously it doesn't have anything clever like approach mode, it's a very basic autopilot. Oh my word, AJ Fernani. Hope I've got your Fernari, sorry. Thank you very much. So I apologise if I'm missing things going by on the stream. But as you can see, I'm quite busy. So as I do notice things, I obviously say them. So thank you if you have donated. So if we zoom out on the GNS over here, we'll see Nexan way out in front of us, hopefully. There it is. It's quite a way to go yet. So if we roll this back to the first page as well, you get the details. So the waypoint we're aiming for is 41 miles away. So knowing there are hills coming, I'm going to take us up to 2,500 feet above sea level. So we'll get rid of the hold. It's not going to, is it? It's being a so-and-so. Look at that. Corkscrewed left. It's going to correct itself, but as soon as I switched on the track, it's gone completely wrong, hasn't it? It's gone to heading. Oh, okay, it switched it back here. That makes sense. So cycling the autopilot completely blew its mind, basically. So let's go back to heading mode for the moment. Oh, I see. I get what this is doing now. I think. There's a hidden roller here you can't see. And if you roll the mouse wheel on it, it controls vertical speed on the autopilot. That makes sense all of a sudden. It's kind of an undocumented feature. So if you roll the mouse wheel over this blank area of fascia, it controls the vertical speed while you're on autopilot. And then to do altitude hold, you click the word Piper above this knob. They've kind of hidden some functionality inside it. See you soon, 717 even, sorry. Okay, so we're holding 100 knots in the climb. We're not pushing the engine at all. We could give this a lot more welly, technical term. Take it out to 120 or so. Although we are climbing at the moment, 500 feet a minute. We're up to 2,000 feet now. We'll wait till it gets 2.5. It's just I'm aware when we get closer to Exeter, it does get more hilly. Hills get higher. (2,100 feet). Just coming up to 22. So we'll be right on the cloud base, I think, at 2,500 feet. So maybe we do stop at a little just short of the cloud base. I think we will. 2,300 feet. So at least we can see where we're going. Look at the speed picking up now we've leveled out. So obviously we're flying in towards Nexan, but from a reference point over here. So if we were to add a point here on the map, you'll see that, you know, from the point we did a direct to was not from Bournemouth. Right, I'm going to leave it on the outside view for a while, and I'm going to go and get a drink. I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. That's what's been going on in the live stream. Can everybody stop arguing, please? Why is saying why are you not using the Bravo throttle for your flying? Because I don't have a Bravo throttle. That was a nice easy answer. No, seriously, all I've got is the I've probably got less kit than anyone else on the channel. I've got an Airbus stick and an Airbus quadrant, and that's my primary flight controls. I don't have rudders, I don't have any of these special gauges or button panels or anything like that. Oh, tell a lie, I've got a Stream Deck, but I very rarely use it for Flight Simulator. Okay, so we're 16 miles out from Nexan. If I zoom out on the display here, you can see it coming now. 7 minutes. Does Tobii track my head as well? Yes, it does. I'm using Tobii Eye Tracker right now. Oh, sorry, yes, that's the other piece of hardware I've got, but that's really just to help with recording videos, because it's useful when you're doing like GA stuff to be able to look around, to act as like a director, I guess. Yeah, Tobii can track your eyes and your head. I turn the eye tracking off in Flight Sim because it's distracting. Because if you've got the eye tracking on, the camera will drift towards where your eyes are looking automatically, and I don't like that. I'd rather just tilt my head, and then I can look around the screen wherever I want without it influencing it, which plays into the mouse, really, because if you're trying to click instruments, if the display is drifting, it becomes a nightmare. I can show you how accurate the tracking is though. If I turn on Tobii Ghost, it will superimpose a picture of the of where I'm looking, so I can preview it, for example. So you can see now. So if I look at the indicated airspeed, or the attitude indicator, or the altimeter, so you can see exactly where I'm looking. So if I'm looking at the GPS, or if I'm looking closely at something and I want to look at the proc button or the CDI button or the menu button, so you can see exactly, even when obviously you can't see this, but I am now maybe 18 inches 2 feet away from the screen, and it is still super accurate. So I can look at individual buttons, and it's very, very accurate. It's stunningly accurate, to be honest. It's a bit spooky. But anyway, I'm going to turn that off because it's really distracting. But you can have the camera follow your eyesight. The reason you might do that, I guess, it doesn't really work for flight simulation, but say if you were playing a first-person shooter, you could very reasonably fire your gun at who you're looking at. Kind of like an Apache gunship kind of deal. Yeah, Tobii works in all light conditions, so light, dark, bright sunshine. You can even put sunglasses on, it can still see your eyes through sunglasses. Don't ask me how. Okay, so we're now 9 miles out from Nexan, and you can see, hopefully, if we go and look at the map, EGTE is out in front of it, so we'll obviously change course when we get there, but we'll change our course to 257 degrees when we get to Nexan. So at the moment we are flying on a nav mode. So it's following the GPS route. We could increase some extra bits onto the route, couldn't we? That's another way of doing it. So if we went to Nexan, this really annoys me in the if I could type. Let me just turn the head tracking off for a moment. This is one of the struggles when you're trying to do very specific things. EGTE, isn't it? There we go, enter. Is it going to work? No, it's not. We appear to have broken the GPS. Oops, wrong button. So we're not going to worry about programming any routes in. I guess what we could do is go and reset it, couldn't we? So if we get this to go the heading we're going, which it pretty much is anyway. So we'll put this over to heading mode on the autopilot. We go to menu, and we have to go to flight plan first, don't we? So clear that. What's going on? Oh, it's done it again, hasn't it? You have to cycle it to get it to behave itself. All I was going to do is then go to flight plan, menu, and delete flight plan, enter, yes, and let's see if we have any more luck this time. So if we go from I wonder if we have to put a departure point in. So let's choose Bournemouth, EGHH. I hadn't thought about that. Then Nexan. And then EGTE. Yeah, it probably just wanted an origin. So then if we go to here and say a menu and activate leg, enter, enter, and we can see the route between Nexan and EGTE has appeared. So we should be able to, although that still hasn't tidied up the autopilot. Look, it's still not following the heading. Very strange. So it is turning right though to intercept the nav radio, which is good. Well, not the nav radio, the GPS track. The only downer about the head tracking with Tobii is it does drift. It's because you have to remember the camera is watching the orientation of your features. That's how it knows which way your head is pointing. And it's not exact. So sometimes if I go and look there, it's not going to do it now, is it? But say you're trying to point very specifically at something, notice it's just drifting a little bit. So if the click spot is quite small, you can lose the click spot while while it's adjusting. Okay, so let's go and put this back to heading mode. Will it let it? And then go for here for V-lock. We should pick up the glide slip, and we have. So the interesting thing about coming into Exeter from this direction is there's a hill in the way of the runway. So you can see we're almost on the localizer. and you can see the glide slope there is above us at the moment, obviously because we're quite a long way out. We're 13 miles out yet. So while Doe is saying, are you intending to upgrade your controls? Actually, it's funny you say that, because I want to do some DCS videos, but the Airbus stick and quadrant really don't lend themselves to DCS at all. There's not enough hats or switches on their bases to make it sensible. So I've been looking at getting a half-decent HOTAS setup, but I'm not going to go and spend all the money on a Warthog or anything like that. But there are some mid-range ones I've been having a look at by the likes of Logitech, so probably go with something like that. I don't know, I'll have to have a read. But then I'll be able to properly cover the DCS aeroplanes and do some tutorials on, you know, how to operate the various systems on the Tomcat and the F-16 and the F-18. Yeah, the X-52 is one of the ones I've been looking at, but there's several of them that are all very similar to each other. Okay, so we can see the glide slope is getting closer. You can see the runway over there, look. So we're off to the right at the moment. So should we go manual? So autopilot is off. Let's go and get onto the glide slope, shall we? Should we climb up onto it? Okay. We could have some fun with this actually, couldn't we? So if I sit us down in the cockpit and we do the old trick with not looking up, we'll see how well we can do at flying the glide slope. So we're just in the real aircraft. When you're doing training for this sort of thing, they use foggles, don't they? Don't know if you've ever seen them, glasses where you can't see in front of you. Okay, so there's the glide slope, we're on it now, and there's the localizer, we're on that as well. So we're just watching this instrument. We're trying to get the speed down as well while we're at it. So we're coming down a little bit steeply actually. But this far out it won't make much difference. There we go, we're off to the left. So we'll just turn right, back across the track. Level out, 6 miles to run. Although that's the GPS. Although it is agreeing with this one here though as well. The DME over there gives us the true number to the beacon, you know, to the radio beacon. Obviously because the runway is probably a mile long. We've gone above the beacon now. So we're just dropping back down onto it. Sorry, not the beacon, the glide slope, I mean. Talking rubbish again. If we put the gear down, that'll give us some drag, won't it? Four miles out, or 3.6 from the end of the runway according to the DME, or to the beacon anyway. Depends where it is in the airfield, to be honest. And we've gone low, so we're just lifting the nose. That will help us get the speed off. There we go, we can use flaps now. And now we have some drag, we can start playing with the propeller to get the RPM back up. There's a fair amount of turbulence out there actually. Being thrown around a little bit. It's not as still as we might like it to be. Okay, so we're 1.5 miles out. You can see the needles start to react far more quickly the closer you get to the beacon, which is obviously a slight parallax, isn't it? Should we press F at this point? And that's the wrong way. Obviously we've dipped below there as we let go of the watching the instruments, but it's always interesting in Flight Sim to see whether the PAPI lights agree with the ILS. So if we pull up onto the ILS again, so we're only just below it, look. So they don't agree, look. Not, or maybe they do, just about. Okay, so full throttle, raise the flaps, maximum RPM. Look at that trying to, it's very, very twitchy on the nose wheel steering, which is what we saw earlier. Let's put the head tracking back on and centre it back up. Have I flown a real GA plane? I actually have. But I'm not a qualified pilot, so I've been in the passenger seat, and I've taken the controls for an extended period of time. And the pilot laughed watching me and said, "Yeah, if anything, I flew the instruments too much," because he asked me to fly a heading, altitude, airspeed, and so on, while he was doing something else. And after watching me for a few moments, let me get on with it, and then did what he was doing, and then he just started giggling and saying that, yeah, I was flying the instruments, I wasn't flying the aeroplane. Which is kind of what you do in a simulator, isn't it? You fly the instruments. Anyway, so we want to be going 242 degrees. As I said, we probably will overflow Cold Rose. Let's get this straightened out. So there is no aileron trim. Is it 242 degrees? Okay, autopilot on, heading mode on. Coming up to 2,500 feet. So we'll let it climb out to that. So it's interesting, I wondered how long it would take in the live stream chat for the Verpil controllers to come up. They're everyone's favourite, but they cost about as much as a small car, don't they? Well, no, not that much, but they cost a significant amount of money. My dad's got one. His joystick, his main joystick, is a Verpil, and it's very, very good. It's a world of difference to the plastic simulator toy ones. It's the, proper piece of hardware. Okay, so we're flying along on heading mode. Well, that says 242. That's not what we're doing. Ah, is this drifted? No. it's just not obeying it again. What's going on? I think we've broken the aeroplane, you know. It's no longer taking any notice of the heading on the autopilot. I wonder if we... I mean, we could do direct 2 because nav mode seems to be working, but yeah, heading mode seems to be broken. So we'll go direct to Land's End, EGHC. So if we go direct to and then switch this to nav mode, and it's going to work. How strange was that? So we've got 87 miles to run across the Cornish countryside to Land's End. So we're not doing that waypoint there. Delete that one. And we were doing the course from there. So hopefully that will happen. 2,500 feet should be fine. We can actually check that in LittleNavMap. So if we put in 2,500 feet in here, we just say VFR, won't make any difference to this, but we can pull up the plot. We'll hit a... we're over here, aren't we? Yeah, we've got 1,000 clearance just about over the hills, which is perfect. It's only over structures, isn't it, that you need 1,000 feet clearance actually, legally. So a few of my friends have got yokes and pedals and things, so I've been down to visit. There's a great group that visit in the southwest of England called the Southwest Flight Sim Group, and I've been to visit them a couple of times. I helped them redo their website recently, and several of them take their kit with them to the meetings. They've got a meeting tomorrow actually. They're all doing a meet-up, heading off to the village hall where they meet up. But yeah, several of them take their kit with them, and I've had a go with yokes and pedals there. It's good fun. I think the last time I went along, somebody had brought the Bravo, you know, the full Bravo kit. How are we doing on the engine? I don't think this really simulates, you know, the use of the engine very accurately, to be honest, because we can get away with thrashing it. What's the fuel doing since we've been running? Yeah, it's equaling the tanks on its own, which is what we had set in the tablet, to be honest. I just wondered if it was going to actually do it. Look how small that click spot is, and with head tracking it's a nightmare. Yeah, we've got auto fuel selector, which will balance it automatically for us. Let's have a look from outside. You can find out the cost. I'm just looking at Gravard's comment there. If we go and pop open a browser and go to Amazon and put in Alpha Bravo yoke, do they do bundle packages? There we go. Look, Logitech G is similar, 130, 140 pounds. The Honeycomb is 100 and 80 for that. So if I put in honeycomb, oops, Bravo gives you just that. They sometimes do packages, don't they, with both, with the whole, you know, all three pieces of kit in one, with the pedals, the quadrant and the yoke. But yeah, the pedals are expensive. It's interesting that that's obviously it pays to shop around, look, because that's half the price. The other one was a rip-off merchant, obviously. It's interesting that you don't get always the things you're looking for when you look for them. But yeah, if you shop around, you can get bundles and get huge discounts. There's various shops around the place that you'll find those bundles, so it's worth searching them. Don't just go with what Amazon says. You have to remember, Amazon is like a supermarket. People have paid to put their products in there and to get placement, and not everybody has put their products in there. Flight sim looks amazing sometimes, doesn't it? I mean, I must admit, these JustFlight aircraft do look good anyway. As you can see, we're quite low to the hills, but this is what we were on about, being at least 1,000 feet away from the ground, which it looks like we're just about here. That is stunning though, isn't it? The way the outcrops are rendered. And it does look genuinely cold, which it is to be. So the comment there saying that you don't have Amazon in Transylvania, don't worry about it, because yeah, there are other shops that do much better deals on that sort of kit than Amazon do. The one thing that is interesting, if you've never thought about it, with the head tracking is I have a key here that I've mapped called F12 that resets the head tracking. So I can sit further away from the computer, for example, which I've just done. If I press F12, I'm back in front of the instruments again. So you can basically get yourself comfortable and then reset the screen. Obviously, if I was to slide myself back forwards now, I'm going to be right up against the glass, which makes no sense. So I just press F12 again, and I'm back in the cockpit. It doesn't always get it right first time, which is quite interesting. How high-end are the components? It's in the live stream notes in the YouTube. I always post everything because people ask so often. If you expand out the description of this live stream, it's got a full spec listed out of what I've got. I think it's down towards the bottom. Yeah. So I haven't got much RAM, bizarrely, but if you go and do a what's running, so if we go Task Manager and go to Performance, although I've only got 16 gig of RAM, look, the simulator doesn't eat that much. And look at the CPU. Even the GPU, look, is not being stressed at the moment. But that's because I limit it to 30 frames a second, and I'm only rendering 1080p as well. So I've deliberately bought a 1080p screen. I used to have a 4K screen, but that introduces the overhead of downscaling the image for the live stream, or or for the recording. So I deliberately bought hardware that's at the same resolution I'm making the videos. Because otherwise that's an extra overhead for the graphics card to downscale it on the fly while it's also recording it. Live streams tend to be smoother than recorded videos. I don't know if you ever realised that, because that means it's the Google hardware at the other end that is having to deal with, or YouTube hardware I should say, that's having to deal with saving the stream to a file rather than your hardware doing it. So all my machine's having to do when I stream is send out what's on the screen, and I've got fibre to the house, which means that is trivial. So people often ask what this program is that I pop up when I'm looking at the sound levels. This is OBS. It's a free piece of software that lets you stream your screen and your audio sources, and you can see I've switched off at the moment. I can put overlays on it as well, so you get the anybody supporting me at Ko-fi. So if I leave that up there, there's also a thing that comes up with animations. So I don't normally show them because it turns it into a bit of a video game, but I'd rather have the clean look of the simulator. I was just experimenting with them to see how other people have done that sort of thing. But I don't know if I like having the screen muddied up with a load of advertorial nonsense. I think one of the biggest comments I've got about the streams I've done is that I don't have the advertorial rubbish. I don't have pre-roll advertisements. I don't have post-roll advertisements. It's just the content, end of story. And that's a deliberate decision on my part, and laziness, because I don't know if I can be bothered with doing pre-roll titles and all the rest of it. I mean, obviously I could go and do it, but I can't see the point, to be honest. People want to see the content. Do I monetize the streams? Yes. Everything on the channel is monetized, and that's how I afford to buy all the airplanes to do the first looks. I do very occasionally get freebies given to me. I don't particularly like doing them because it then means I'm kind of beholden to speak favourably about things. Whereas if I just spend the money like anybody else, then I can have an honest opinion without putting somebody's nose out of joint, where they might turn around and say, oh, we gave that to you and you've been, unfavourable about it. It's only happened once or twice where I've been maybe too honest, or should I say I have just been honest. Too honest in their opinion. Or they had a difference of opinion with me about how good their product was. But thankfully it's only ever happened a couple of times. I'm not going to name any names, but there's one Creative Aeroplanes. I'm never going to look at any of their products again, because they have a history, let's put it that way, of being quite abusive to people online, and I'm just don't want to even have to deal with it. Okay, so 57 miles to run until we get to Land's End. It's not MS Scenery, or M Scenery, sorry. I'm not going to say who it is, but it's not them. I'm not going to confirm or deny any others after that, so you can't narrow it down. Oh my word, Q8 pilot. It's fantastic, thank you very much. It's quite amusing actually on about buying products, because Orbex offered me a long time ago access basically to all of their scenery, and I just have to let somebody there know, and then they give me the scenery then I can obviously showcase it and show you different airports around the place without it being a cost to me. But I just end up buying them because I don't get to plan far enough ahead usually that I would need, like, 48-hour turnaround maybe, if that, for somebody at Orbex to say, okay, yes, we can get you that, here's a code for it, blah blah blah. Typically I sit down on an evening and I think, what am I going to record, and I'll have an idea and I'll just go and buy the bits and pieces to do the video. And if I had to wait 2 days, then that immediacy would be gone. I will admit, when they first offered to give me any scenery, I turned around and said, well, can I not just have access to all of it, and then I can pick and choose as I go. But I think they're more targeted with their marketing. They would rather release a product and have content creators talk about the specific thing they're releasing, rather than just, pick any old scenery that suits a flight I might be doing. But hugely grateful to them to have offered their scenery. But yeah, I still tend to buy the scenery from Orbex, even though they have offered it to me for nothing. And part of that is wanting to support them, because I think they do a great job with the products they sell. So the vast majority of the scenery I've bought myself anyway. I've had a couple of sceneries over the years where people, the scenery developers have approached me directly and given me early access to their scenery to get it publicised. But for a very long time I didn't go anywhere near scenery because I thought it was a bit of a slippery slope, that you end up needing to buy new hardware because you've got so much scenery installed. Do I use rudder pedals? Gareth is asking. No, I haven't got any rudder pedals. I just use the twist grip on the Airbus stick. I will say though, after buying the Airbus stick, I had to take it to bits and put lubricant in it's got pots, it's got like really cheap resistors for the twist action. So, which are nowhere near as good as the actual joystick axis itself, as the elevator and aileron axis. So the hardware they used for the twist grip was really cheap. So I took it to bits when I first got it and put some lubricant in it, and it's been absolutely perfect ever since. It's just bizarre that out of the factory they don't really lubricate them properly. Or it could be that it's just been sat still on a storage shelf somewhere for months before you actually buy it. And that might do it in, for all I know. Something I do use that I'm not sure if many other people use is MSFS add-ons linker. If I just pop it up on the screen to show you it. It's saying, do I want to carry on, because I'm actually running the sim, and if I change anything it could actually crash the sim. So what this does, if you imagine you've got your community folder and that's just a big flat list of things, and obviously the more you put in there the slower the simulator becomes with loading and things like that. What I've actually got is another folder with all the stuff I've ever bought from third parties in a folder structure. So I've got airplanes, and then I've got sceneries, but I've subdivided them into airports, for example, in different parts of the world. So if I'm flying in the UK, I can just go, and this is where add-on linker comes in. What add-on linker does is you point it at where your files are actually stored. So in my case, this add-ons folder structure. It indexes them and replicates the folder structure here, as you can see. And then when you go and tick on something, which I'm not going to do because it'll break it, it makes a symbolic link in, you can see these folders with the arrow on. It makes a symbolic link in the community folder to where the files really are. So as far as Windows is concerned, that is an actual folder. Yeah, as far as the simulator is concerned, that is a folder. It just doesn't realise it's not in the community folder. So what Add-on Linker allows you to do is just switch on and off bits of scenery. So you can see I've turned on the UK airports for the moment. I've switched on the Orbex regional bits. So it means just before you load the simulator, you decide where you're going to go flying and you switch on the bits you need. So that's what Add-on Linker does. It's very good. And it avoids you having, you know, gigabytes of data that the simulator has to trawl through before it can load. So you only switch on what you need for the flight you're planning to do. How are we doing on the plan anyway? 40 miles to run. And we're actually zooming along, aren't we? Look. 140 knots. How are we doing in terms of fuel? Is good. Temperatures are good. Pressures are good. Should we have a play with the ADF? Because it's so rare you see it in aeroplanes. Let's go and find a beacon. There's going to be one down here somewhere, isn't there? He says, famous last words. We get rid of that. Yeah, there was one right next to us. Newquay 347. So ADF. What you should get now, there it goes, it's just swung round, look, it's pointing at the ADF station at Newquay. That's kind of your earliest generation in most of the aircraft in the simulator of nav aids, is ADF, or automatic direction finding. The Boeing 247 in the sim has an entirely different radio system. It has the predecessor of VOR radios, but it uses Morse code. It's very cool. So well, not Morse code, it sends a beep pattern, and you can tell from the beep pattern whether you're flying or what quadrant you are around the radio mast, but nothing much more accurate than that. It's very, very cool. It's like the earliest generation of a directional radio beacon. Yep, VORs are being retired very quickly because GPS is so reliable and a lot cheaper to maintain. So let's have a look, see where we are. Coming in towards Land's End, which we'll end our flight at today. I guess just to make it a bit more fun, should we go and follow the coastline on the way? So let's take the autopilot off. And we'll actually fly the aeroplane for a change. Somebody should have cleaned that window. I love those little touches in the simulator when you see things like that. It really does make a difference, doesn't it, to how real it seems. So with I've got the South Coast boats installed, obviously. You saw some of them earlier. So when we get down to Falmouth, you should see a lot of boats there, I would imagine. There's an add-on certainly that puts the VOR hardware underneath where the VORs are, so you get the the proper building with the hardware on it overhead. I think that's a freebie, the VOR hardware. It might be from Orbex actually. Should we put the live weather on and see what it's looking like? So we turned it off earlier, didn't we? Oh, it's looking quite atmospheric. What about live time? Oh, that's better. So we're going to have some weather to deal with on the way into Land's End. Yeah, the Geist shipping is very, very good. It's a really great alternative to the seafront simulations. So good GA aircraft that are free. Do Got Friends still distribute some of their airplanes as free? I thought they did. To be honest though, the aircraft that come with the simulator are very, very good. I mean, okay, they might not be study level, but study level is such a subjective term. Okay, this live weather's not great, is it? Shall we just dip down below this cloud bank so we can see where we're going? That JPL Cessna 152 though, wasn't there some contentious stuff going on with that, where the developers fell out and they didn't maybe have the rights to have included the code that they had? I'm not sure what the full story is, because it got pulled, didn't it? Okay, so this is Falmouth. There's no boats here. What have Seafront been up to? Oh, there's one boat. I thought it would have been absolutely jam-packed with boats here, but oh, maybe it just doesn't have this in Seafront's coverage of the south coast. I've been to Falmouth. It's usually rammed with sailing boats. Yeah, let's change this back to so you get to see the scenery. We'll put it on few clouds, and yeah, we'll leave it at 4 o'clock for the moment. Yeah, see what I mean? So the Cessna 172 improvement mod, yes, that's very good. Hi Adrian. Right, I need to slow down a little bit. I'm going a bit fast. So this aircraft is the Piper Arrow 3 from JustFlight. I bought it as part of a pack with the Warrior and the Turbo Arrow as well. But just for this first leg of this trip around the UK, I thought I'd go with the basic Piper Arrow, and then in later legs we'll obviously look at some of the others. But I guess each time I do a leg of this journey, we'll choose a different aeroplane anyway. So we are 20 miles away from Land's End. So we're just cutting off the naval base here, down on the towards the Lizard. So just on the headland out there is the most southerly part of the UK. And obviously Land's End is the most westerly part. So you can now see South Cornwall and North Cornwall in the same screen, which is quite cool. Should put some lights on. It's getting quite dark, isn't it? Gotta remember how this works now. It's a bit better. I already did the lights in the cabin earlier, didn't I? Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, somebody was asking me the other day, now I've got to 25,000 subscribers, what's the next aim? How am I going to get it on to be a bigger number than that? And to be honest, I haven't ever tried to get subscribers. I usually completely forget about saying anything about asking people to subscribe, and to be honest, when you see people doing that on their channels and they keep on and on about it, and you know, asking them to like and subscribe and click the bell and whatever, it kind of grates on me a little bit. And I know I should be more of a salesperson in terms of my own content, but I think the content should speak for itself. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'll never make it in marketing. So if anybody doesn't know about red lights on aeroplanes, red light doesn't affect your night vision. That's why you see red lights in aeroplanes, specifically in the cockpit. Nearly there. 13 miles to run. Can we get there before the sun goes down? It's going to be a race against time, isn't it? This simulator's amazing sometimes, isn't it? It's just stunning. Get the classic silhouette shot of the aeroplane against the sunset. So Penzance is just coming up on the inlet down here. My dad had a boat when we were young that blew up in Penzance Harbour. I don't know if anybody wants to try and find it online. It was called Arkerman. A-R-K-E-R. My dad and his brothers and his dad were on board at the time. And yeah, it burnt to the waterline in the harbour. It was in the national press. This is, oh crikey, 45 years ago, probably longer than that. Yeah, it happened down there. Luckily we weren't on board, we were only little kids at the time. We were at my nan's house, I seem to remember. Losing visibility in the cloud. Should clear again. Here it comes. Okay, so we should get sight of the runway fairly soon. You can see there's another aeroplane out there in front of us. Interesting. Why didn't that work? Anyway, so we got no wind because we've got the weather turned off, so we could come in any runway we want really. 3-4 would be the easiest, wouldn't it? Just bleeding off some speed. You can see the beginning of the runway down there. It's kind of obscured from us at the moment. You can see the bits of the airfield. But with it being so dark, it's making it quite difficult to visualize. So we'll fly out over the top of the windmills here and then turn in. How are we doing for speed? Speed's coming off slowly. You see there's some... I thought that might be pylons down there, but it's not. It's just hedgerows that happen to line up. So we're a bit high. I'm just side slipping away from the runway and getting the flaps down. So if we go nose high in the turn, side slipping, we'll lose a lot of lift and a lot of speed very quickly. There we go. And then ease it back to normal. Obviously the VASI lights are saying we're high, but we're coming back onto the approach pretty quickly. There we go. So we get just adjust across and down. That was a little bit uncomfortable. Oh, we have somebody in front of us that's got custom scenery for Land's End. Look, they're a few feet higher than everybody else. There's someone else. But this is the stock version of Land's End, I think, that comes with the simulator. It's not bad at all. Obviously it was upgraded as part of the UK update, I guess. Okay, where did everybody just go? That's a lot of solar panels. Let's go and park down here in front of the hangar, shall we? Okay. Should have wound these back before I did that, but oh well. I think I'm right in saying, oh, it's still on the passenger side, isn't it? The doors work in this. Is there a latch at the top? Yeah, there is. There we go. Very cool. I think you can also... Oh no, they have got clipping on them. I thought they hadn't. So I thought we could actually slide the view straight through the doorway, but you can't. That's a shame. It's a great aeroplane though, isn't it? Looks the part. What have we got in here, by the way? A couple of bags. Rucksack. There we go. We arrived. So I'm not using VR, I'm using a Tobii head tracker. Or Tobii Eye Tracker, sorry. Which means I can go and do this and, you know, lean all over the place looking around the aeroplane. Very straightforward and easy to do. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for following along today, and I'll be back with you all again soon. Oggy's just asking something that's popped up. Does it have a Navigraph in the plane? No. This is the. Although saying that, it's got the GNS 530. So what are the options? If we go and open up the tablet, if I can click on it, let me just change the time of day. Make it a bit brighter in here so we can see what we're doing. Just before we go, if I go and change this to GPS 100, and yeah, so I haven't got the 750 installed at the moment, but I think it would put the 750 in there as well if you had it. And I think the 750 has got charts, but only on the payware version, on the PMS 750. If you've got the the TDS 750, that's got US charts in it. I don't think it's got Navigraph, because it's essentially the Garmin trainer built into the sim. It's very good, but it's very much limited by what the Garmin trainer comes with. Anyway, I'm going to call it that, and I'll see you again soon.